YouTubers, rejoice! Monty's gone. Well, I'm here. Hi, everybody. This is a new thing for me. I've never done this in my house. But the world's freaking out, man. And so today, that's right, baby. I'm all kinds of professional here. We got all this stuff. I'll pull it back. There we go. That's an election. Lots of fun in this election. Then we got a bunch of foreign policy stuff that somebody, whoever wins that election, is going to have to deal with. You probably already know who it is. But let's do this. Hi, everybody. Shout out to all of you. By the way, if you have any, yo, Monty, you should do this. This would make this whole thing for the however many we have to do with these. You think you got an idea to make it better? Drop it in the comments. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. And I'll stop doing, well, I apparently always do this. So stop being weird and teach. Got it. Election of 1960. All right, election of 1960. It's going to be a fun one. July, Democrats are going to get together in L.A. They've got a pretty big list of guys. You've got Adlai Stevenson. You've got Hubert Humphrey, who's big into farm and labor. You've got Lyndon Baines Johnson. He's from Texas. He's the Senate Majority Leader. And then you've got JFK. Okay. Johnny boy, he's young, no administrative experience, not really a great Senate record, and he's Catholic. All right, that's going to be a big strike against him, or at least potentially. You know, there's always been that rhetoric that if we elect a Catholic as president, then they're going to give the country over to the Pope. Well, it doesn't happen here, but we move on. JFK is going to win all 7 primaries, and really, man, the guy was just super organized. Extensive organization, something like 60 phone lines on his floor, so he can always call out and always be campaigning. He gets nominated on the first ballot for the Democrats. In his acceptance speech, he is urging the United States to make sacrifices to meet the challenges. His whole domestic agenda is the new frontier, and the guy's making a lot of promises. We'll get into that in the platform. They will pair him up with LBJ, remember, Senate Majority Leader. LBJ is from Texas. He's much more conservative than Kennedy, and so it makes sense. Platform, strong civil rights plank. JFK, the Democrats, want no discrimination in employment, and they also want more voting security. Remember that the Civil Rights Act of 57 gave federal protection for voting rights. You know, SCLC's been working on a voter registration drive and catching a bunch of resistance. All right, so going into this election, that's been a big one. They want security. Defense, you got to address the Cold War if you're running for president. JFK is actually going to criticize the Republicans on a missile gap. He says that they've got more missiles than we do, and we know that clearly violates one of our CWAs. He also says that we're losing the space race. By this election, that's fair. All right, yeah, we're losing it at that point. Winners come 69. Anyway. Also wants to increase minimum wage, wants to aid underdeveloped nations, some type of program to aid so that it doesn't seem like the CIA is just steamrolling everybody. But we'll get into that later. Okay, Republicans are going to get together in Chicago, and there's division in the Republican Party going in. There's division between Nixon and Rockefeller. It's kind of like your big Tupac, East Coast, West Coast kind of thing. In my head, it all makes sense. But anyway, Nixon and Rockefeller get together. Rockefeller's big on civil rights. Nixon, not so much. They get together at Rockefeller's home, and Nixon agrees to support civil rights. Rockefeller agrees to support Nixon with Rockefeller's blessing. Boom, Nixon's your heir apparent. Platform for Nixon is to uphold minority civil rights. They're just hold and serve. Want to talk about a constitutional amendment for equal rights, but really the focus is on communism. Okay, the real focus is on communism. And remember, Nixon's been Ike's VP for 8 years, and so he says that he can provide responsible leadership in this election. The campaign. In the campaign, the lead is going to seemingly seesaw back and forth several times. Communism and the Cold War are important issues. The Democrats are going to really heavily criticize the Republicans because Cuba just went red, and they're saying missile gap, space gap type stuff. Experience ends up being a big issue. And you would think that, especially when I said that JFK over here didn't have much administrative experience. It actually comes down on Nixon because Ike gets caught with a live microphone on, and it ends up bombing out Nixon about his poor leadership and whatnot. So that's going to be tough. Religion, always an issue in this country. Religion is important for JFK. He's Catholic. All right, and there's always been that fear of that Protestant Catholicism stuff ever since the first unit of this class. But Nixon's going to tell his campaign, don't touch religion. Let the preachers in. Stop doing this. He says, let the preachers take care of that in their pews. JFK in September. Elections in November, September of 1960. JFK is going to give a speech on religion. Says that he has a strong belief in the separation of church and state, and everybody hears that speech and goes, "Oh my gosh, he's so dreamy." He's a stud muffin. Anyway, the turning point of this election are the TV debates. Okay, that would be, bam, TV debates. All right. The TV debates, really, 1960s the first. This has never happened before. People have been talking about it, the idea, because the TV is not brand new. But it's the first one. Now, what you guys got to understand about these TV debates is the television, man. The television is everything, all right? It really is. It's everything. It's where people are getting their information from. It is crafting the American reality. And we're in this affluent society, and so it's this thing that people can now have in their living room. It's gonna be a big deal. I'm telling you people right now, TV is gonna be a big deal because stuff like what's going on here, protest. You might not have ever been in a city where there's big protests going on. All right, so you hear about it and go, "Oh man, those people aren't like us." But then it comes into your living room. And suddenly now it's in your living room. You can't treat it like it's the Indians anymore. It is real. It is being talked about. It does exist. And so that is going, TV, one, huge influence in American culture. One, it's going to give legitimacy to this civil rights movement, which we'll get into later. But more importantly, bam, it's going to help decide a presidential campaign. All right. 4 debates. Different locations with audience. CBS and NBC both got one. ABC got the other 2. Traditional debate. Opening and closing statements with moderator questions. You'd have 2.5 minutes to answer, 1.5 minutes to respond. Topics were domestic, foreign, and then there were I think the last 2 were open. Okay. Now, this country, man, oh man, this country, we're vain. And image is a big deal. The first debate's the most important. Most people watch the debates and boom, they're done. Okay, I got my idea on this. So JFK, man, holy cow, dude, this guy is seemingly from Camelot, right? He is gorgeous, he's popular, he's young, he's a dreamboat. And on TV, wow, that dude looks good. Nixon comes in, and the first debate isn't good for him. He had been sick, and so like when he shows up, he's like way underweight, as if he's a fighter, but he's like underweight, and so his suit doesn't fit him like just right. It kind of looks like, well, most of you guys wearing your dad's suit jacket for Dress for Success Day. Okay, kind of looks like that. He was kind of jaundiced in color, had a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow, and so he just didn't look right, didn't look comfortable in his own skin. And then you sit across the stage from Dreamboat City over here, and you're in trouble because, like I said, we're vain, man. We like pretty people. You're all beautiful, by the way. I think you're all beautiful. Most of you. Now, so not only is it a visual difference, but it's also stylistic. All right, stylistically, JFK was way more aggressive. He would then pause off and talk to the audience. He's like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. Almost like looking at the TV. Like he knows that he's going in on YouTube in a Monty lecture. Nixon, old school style debate, super focused. I'm gonna focus on you, and I'm gonna answer your questions and rebuttal. And when you have this versus, hey, I'm a good looking guy, and I have a brain. It's not good. First debate, JFK wins in a landslide, and man, a lot of people turn the TV off and don't pay attention much to the rest of the debates. Nixon probably won hands down the last two. First one he definitely lost. We'll call the second one a draw, but people's minds have been made up. All right, we mentioned the civil rights movement going on, and race is an issue. All right, Martin Luther King Jr. Boom, your third term today. MLK Jr. is gonna make an impact on this election. October 19th, 1960, Jr. is participating in a sit-in in Atlanta. He gets arrested. Now, mind you, he's already on probation, and so he gets sentenced 4 years of hard labor. JFK calls up Mrs. King, says, hey, yo, Mrs. King, I saw what happened to your husband. She goes, oh, yeah, I saw your handsome face on the debates. And long story short, JFK's little brother, Robert Kennedy, and we'll get into him a lot more later. Bobby Kennedy's like the lawyer of the family, okay? So JFK tells Mrs. King, tells her that little brother Bobby, RFK, is going to get MLK out of jail. Beautiful move, beautiful political move, because if you remember, Martin Luther King Jr., since the Civil Rights Act of 57, has been working on a voter registration drive. All right, that is huge, because when Jr. comes out of jail, who's he saying everybody should vote for? Yep. The Kennedy boys. JFK is going to get 70% of the black vote. And that's enormous. Okay, that is absolutely enormous. All right. So, boom. We take a look. Is it enough? Let's pull that in. Boom. Of course it is. You can see, electorally, it's a landslide. Not a landslide. It's definitely a majority. But look at popular vote. If you kind of zoom in, I don't know how to do that. Like I said, if you know how to do that stuff, put it down there in the comments, please. But yeah, it's a close election, and that 70% of the black vote is huge for Kennedy. Oh, here we go. There's all JFK stuff right there. That's it in a nutshell. All 1,036 days. JFK in office, his inaugural address, it was memorable, reflected on nationalism, sacrifice, globalism. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Water's so good. All right. But yeah, let's get into the stuff that matters for us today. Boom, the Peace Corps. All right. Now, if you guys recall, I said part of the platform that JFK wanted was a platform where you helped underdeveloped nations. Okay, it all fits into the Cold War. It all fits into the Cold War because a lot of people are starting to think, hey, is America a bully nation? And JFK says absolutely not, and I'll show you why not. Boom, Peace Corps. He does it by executive order, which means Congress wasn't on board at the beginning, but he does it anyway. All right. The idea behind Peace Corps is to assist underdeveloped nations. And again, I told you it's for the Cold War. And so what we are doing is we are sending volunteers to 44 different countries to promote economic development. Okay. Again, that is sending volunteers to 44 different countries to promote economic development. What kind of economic development? Capitalist, of course. That's what we're doing right now in the Cold War. We are helping countries out. A lot of technical skills, a lot of agricultural advisors. Your boy got accepted in the Peace Corps, found a little bit sweeter of a gig. Come holler at me sometime. We got a timer on this video. You can't see it, but the timer's right there. And I'm at 15 minutes at this point, so I got to speed up. Boom! But that's what we're doing. Peace Corps is awesome, by the way. Again, like if you're kind of like free-spirited and you decide you can't get in a gen pop right after graduating college, come holler at me. We'll talk all about this. It's the toughest job you'll ever love. But again, promoting economic development in countries that we want to make sure don't fall to the evils of communism. Cool? Cool. Now, let's talk about the evils of communism. Communism recently has spread into the Western Hemisphere. Remember, 1959, we get the Cuban Revolution. That was Fidel toppling Batista, and when he did it, he used a lot of anti-U.S. rhetoric. He seized and destroyed a tremendous amount of U.S. property, and then started making trade agreements with the Soviet Union. Okay, so we can't do that. Ike, remember, he's formulating a plan. He's got the CIA training Cuban exiles in Guatemala for a future invasion. Here's your future invasion. Notice the date here, though. 61. Ike's not in. It's JFK. And this thing's going to be a failure. And if you're probably saying, well, why would you do it if it's going to be a failure? Because it's Ike's plan. And Ike's the master of invasion. And so you inherited a gift. You opened the present. By the time, though, Ike did leave, he's got that invasion plan there. And like one of the last things he does, January 61, is totally severs diplomatic relations with Cuba. So when Kennedy comes in, man, it's high tensions. It's high tensions. April 17th, 1961, we get Bad Pigs. Not everybody's on board with this thing, but we're going to go with it anyway. With an invasion of Cuba, you're probably going to want to have the element of surprise. We lost the element of surprise on the 15th. A bunch of old B-52 bombers bombed out Castro's Air Force Base. Of course, they call us up. Hey, did you do that? No. Tell me, why can't we say no? We didn't do it. That's right. But anyway, the 17th we do it anyway. We've got 1,400 men. Remember, we've been training these guys in Guatemala for a hot minute now. 1,400 men dropped onto the beaches without support. They're jumping out with surplus military fatigues, old World War II rifles. They get trapped on the beaches. In fact, some of them even land in the water. When they get to the beaches, 50 Soviet tanks are waiting for them on the beach. Like I said, man, total Cold War disaster. The invasion is a bust. It's a total Cold War disaster, but JFK's approval rating is going to jump all the way up to 83%. Because he's trying. And that's all it takes. All you got to do is try. You don't have to be successful. You just got to try. All right? So it's going to do nothing positive for relations between the U.S. and Cuba, by the way. Okay? That's all in April of 61, October of 62. That game of brinkmanship goes next level. Right? It really goes next level. 1961, Soviet military moves into Cuba with them. They had something like 42,000 Soviet personnel 1962, the Soviet Union starts building missile sites in Cuba. All right, that's when we kind of key in. October 15th, 1962, a U-2 plane. A U-2 plane it's a satellite, or it's a spy plane. Okay, it's not a terrible rock band plane. U-2 plane photographed missile sites. It was this picture. This is actually what we're looking at. Saw missile sites in Cuba. Okay, in Cuba. JFK immediately creates an organization. I'm going to zoom this up to you so you can kind of see what's up with the what's up. Boom. Yeah. Anyway, and you can see in there we've got tents, we've got all kinds of other different stuff that is sketchy to say the least. JFK is going to create an executive committee to handle the situation, put a full-blown quarantine of the Soviet military in Cuba. Okay, so again, that's all on October 15th. Hey, you got better ideas? Put them in the comment. I mean, this is me. I'm just doing my thing. In my fresh jacket. That's right. Anyway. That was on the 15th. On October 22nd, JFK is going to announce the quarantine to Khrushchev and the U.S. on TV. Just comes out and says, yo, guess what, America? Guess what, Khrushchev? We got you. We see you. That's a terrible angle. There we go. And immediately the U.S. is terrified. All right. Fear. Course of fear, man. Woo. Gotta love this stuff. Is gonna cripple